Wagner, the co-owner of Magnolia Pictures, with my longtime business partner, Mark Cuban, who I'm grateful has come tonight to support Food Inc. 2 and this food fight. Magnolia Pictures is the proud distributor of Food Inc. 2. We've distributed hundreds of movies over the last 20 years, but this documentary is very, very special to me. So I'm thrilled to talk a few minutes about how our newly launched organization, FoodFight USA, complements, with an E, parts of what Food Inc. 2 is all about. As I've come to this issue from a different path, I'm a chronic migraine sufferer, sometimes as many as 10 to 12 per month, but always noticed not so much when I was in Europe or Canada or somewhere else. We did a movie many years ago that you may recall called Good Night and Good Luck with George Clooney. And yes, I did become friends. And yes, I went to his house in Lake Como. And the reason I'm telling you that story is because when he greeted me that night, we went in, and one of the things that I still remember was he said, "You know, Todd, when I'm here in Italy, I have pizza and pasta every night, and I never gain weight." And I remember thinking, wow, that rings true, and anecdotally, I hear this all the time. So I did some digging. In Europe, there is one food agency, the EFSA, the European Food Safety Agency. It regulates food from the farm to the table. Pre-market testing of newly introduced chemical additives. Independent scientists. Cumulative effects testing. Food companies cannot be involved in the process. If it's shown to be a carcinogen or otherwise toxic, it's banned from the food supply. Therefore, a vastly smaller number of additives and preservatives are allowed over there. McDonald's fries, 3 ingredients in Europe, 12 here. Fruits and vegetables, they go out of season in Europe. They never go out of season here. So how does this manifest? The obesity and diabetes rates are 2 to 3 times higher here than in Europe. But what about the USA? Surely our system is similar, right? Nope, not even close. It's fragmented. Well, what do I mean? We have the FDA, we have the USDA, we have the EPA, and they overlap for sure. We have food company self-regulation, and I will explain what I mean by that, and exploitation of the GRAS loophole. GRAS, for some of you, this is second nature. For some of you, this is brand new information. GRAS stands for generally regarded as safe. It was put in as much well-intended legislation back in 1958 for things like vinegar and baking soda that they knew were safe. What nobody knew is that loophole would end up being exploited for the next 40 years into our food supply. Now, I didn't know this until I got into this topic, obviously pretty deeply, that food companies were bought by Kraft, like Kraft and Nabisco were bought by the tobacco industry in the 1980s. So after they settled 14 years of litigation, they bought food companies. And they used the same playbook as was used for cigarettes. Make the foods addictive, think nicotine, and it causes health consequences, and it leverages GRAS, that loophole that we just talked about. How? Because in fact, the chemicals, which is just astounding to me, were tested and approved by scientists hired by food companies, who then in turn used the GRAS loophole to say it was safe. No cumulative effects testing, no pre-market testing, no independent science. In fact, many of these chemicals, we don't even know their names because public disclosure can sometimes even be avoided. It is now estimated that 99% of the synthetic chemicals in our food supply from the last 20 years were approved by industry insiders, not by federal regulators. Look, the average American thinks those list of ingredients on the side of the package you are buying was approved by the FDA. That's just not the case. So, yet with new prescription drugs coming to market in the USA, we are the gold standard of FDA oversight. However, the FDA, frankly, has shown little interest in food over the last 40 years versus a lot of interest in new drugs, medical devices, and vaccinations. That good food is medicine, and bad food needs medicine. And it's the cocktail of these UPFs, these ultra-processed foods that you're going to learn a lot about tonight, with all these synthetic emulsifiers, thickeners, preservatives, bulking agents, colors, stabilizers, flavor enhancers, foaming agents, bleaching agents, artificial glazing. I'll stop. That's what they are. That's what creates the health consequences. There is an enormous amount of science now showing these links. UPFs, if you remember nothing else, UPFs are not food. It has been through so much processing and modification. I describe them, and so have others, as an addictive edible substance. UPFs subvert the systems in your body that regulate weight and signal when to stop eating, thus driving excess consumption and oftentimes addiction. We can now show that 22% of all deaths worldwide, because by the way, that's our greatest export, is this, can be caused by UPFs. This is cigarettes for our generation. It's addictive, they know it. It causes health issues, and they know it. But unlike cigarettes, we all have to eat. We have a tainted food supply here. It's not the fault of our citizens. We say it over and over. It's not you, it's the food. So, I started FoodFight USA with Lori McCreary, who's here tonight, a little over a year ago. She had produced a documentary called The C Word a few years back, which Megan O'Hara directed, who's also with us tonight. And Morgan Freeman, her producing partner, did the voiceover, and he is also here with us tonight. That documentary touched on some of these issues. I asked Lori what had happened since it was released about 7 years ago, and she kind of said, well, not too much. And I said, what if I joined forces with you? And so I got involved. We were very involved in passing the California Food Safety Act. I talked to Governor Schwarzenegger, who is a longtime friend of mine, about this, and he said, I will help you. And he did. So I met with his team at the Schwarzenegger Institute at USC, many of them who are also here with us tonight. I asked Governor Schwarzenegger to publicly endorse it. He did, which made it bipartisan. Then I met with Governor Newsom in Sacramento and asked him to please sign it. That we were just gradually poisoning people to have both a shorter lifespan and health span. He signed it into law on October 7th last year. The California Food Safety Act removed 4 toxic known carcinogens out of the food supply, which, by the way, are already banned in 27 countries around the world. So things like red dye 3 and potassium bromate. It was seminal. Why? Because it opened the door. Now, as I stand here tonight, we have 7 other states like Illinois, Pennsylvania, New York, and Kentucky looking at doing the same thing. Or even adding more known carcinogens in order to ban it even more deeply. In fact, some of those state representatives are also here with us tonight as guests of Food Fight. So, FoodFight USA is being publicly announced this evening. It has 3 parts. 1, legislation. Working on amending GRAS, which we all know hopefully a little bit about what GRAS is. Some of you live it. Front of package warning labels like cigarettes. Similar to many countries, by the way, already in South America and Europe that do it right now. But we have to make sure it has teeth. It can't just be a warning label that doesn't really drive home the point. That'll be open to debate, but it's something we're going to push on. Leg 2, grassroots. We launched the website FoodFightUSA.com, please check it out, just this last week, to educate people, to anger people, to ask them to question why known toxins banned in countries around the world have been put into our food supply for the last 40 years. Why are we the guinea pigs? There's also ways for them to be involved as food fight warriors and be a part of this. Look, obesity rates have gone up almost lockstep. If I overlaid a chart with the introduction of these toxic chemicals from the 1980s forward, we didn't just all of a sudden become overweight in this country. You will see in the documentary that UPFs are the ticking time bomb. They are the straw that stirs the obesity, cancer, diabetes drink. They are ground zero. UPFs are around 20% of the average diet in Europe. In the United States, it's estimated at 70 to 80%. Obviously, that depends on where you live and your circumstances. You can't exercise your way out of this. 75% of our country, get a load of this, is now either obese or overweight. 75%. 70% in the state of Mississippi is now the obesity rate. This is also a military readiness issue. They fell 25% short of their recruiting goals in 2022 because only 22% of young people can now even apply for the military due to obesity rates. It's also a Medicare-Medicaid issue. It permeates everywhere. Both Sanjay Gupta, Dr. Oz, and Mayo's doctors, who are all involved in this with us, call this the #1 health issue in America. Food is literally killing us. And 30 to 40 years later, it shows up in a healthcare system that can't afford it. It's not you, it's the food. It's not about banning foods either. It's about using ingredients that are safer and less toxic, as countries around the world already do. However, as Teddy Roosevelt said, to merely complain about a problem without offering a solution just makes you a whiner. So the third leg of our stool, coupled with legislative and grassroots, is solutions. A tip of the cap to Mark, who talked this through with me a few months ago. To you, he's a shark. To me, he's just a really smart friend and business partner. So solutions. First, links to websites where healthier foods can be purchased right now from Italy and Germany. Medium term, getting Campo Verde and other Demeter certified products. Think of Demeter as organic 2.0 into our shelves in America. These are even cleaner foods. Look, they are doing regenerative farming in Europe today. Good for the environment, the animals, the soil. Campo Verde Demeter certified products comprise 20% of grocery store sales in countries like Germany and Switzerland, with over 200 products. What else are we going to do? We're also working with Yuka. If you don't know Yuka, please download the app. It will change your life. And EWG on a seal or certification for certain products so that people can trust them to purchase and to curate end caps and aisles in grocery stores right now, today. Because who the hell can read the labels and understand this nonsense anyway? So the way it works is you scan the labels using their apps, you get a rating on the contents of that food item that you're about to purchase and an explanation as well. Let me give you a little bit about Yuka because it's super important. Yuka has impacted France dramatically. They started in France. 1 in 3 people in France downloaded their app. Why does that matter? Why do we care? Because food manufacturers have modified their ingredients because Yuka customers were impacting sales because they weren't buying as much of the crappy foods. Now, UCA is based in the States. They have moved to New York. And we are working with them to try to have the same impact here. They already have 12 million downloads here and over 600,000 downloads per month. The tipping point is coming and change will ensue, especially when on purpose it's meant to be confusing. Labeling is confusing and they like it that way. Longer term, we're going to be working with American farmers to help get them Demeter certified, regenerative farming, biodynamically centric in a way that makes economic sense for them and is healthier for the consumer and the environment. And we've got a farmer starting that journey with us here tonight as well. I could spend hours. I was given 10 minutes. Hopefully our Food Fight mission statement now makes sense. 1, to get federal legislation passed to stop self-regulation by food companies and clean up our tainted food supply. 2, to help consumers make more informed and empowered food choices. 3, to work with American farmers to grow healthier foods that work for them economically and benefit consumers' health. Join us. You know, it's a food fight. FoodFightUSA.com to be exact. We're in it to win it. It's time for people to have a voice, and we will try to be that voice. Thank you.